G'day everyone. Today we're going to be walking through the InvestSMART Portfolio Manager. So right now I'm on the home page, and to get to the Portfolio Manager I'm just going to scroll across here and click on My Portfolio. Now, if you don't already have a portfolio manager set up, you're going to be brought to this page here. Now, here you're going to be walked through setting it up from scratch. So firstly, you're going to enter the name, then you're going to enter its function, so superannuation, or perhaps personal investment, or maybe even hypothetical paper trades. And then you're going to be brought through to this screen here, where you can upload your shares, you can upload your managed funds, your property, your cash, your others, which are your alternatives, and your liabilities. Now, if you're like me and you hold a number of stocks and uploading them one by one is a bit of a chore, you can upload a CSV file of them in one go. Now, just make sure your CSV file matches the fields we have here for the shares. Okay, if you've already got a portfolio manager set up, when you click on My Portfolio, you'll be brought through to the dashboard. So the dashboard gives you an overview of your entire portfolio. So you've got your performance for the last 12 months, you've got your asset allocation, so your breakdown between Australian shares, international shares, property, cash, etc. It gives you a health check score, and we're going to go into that a little bit more later. It gives you your dividends there. So basically, according to the stocks that you have in your portfolio, if they've announced an upcoming dividend, this is the exact dollar figure in cash that you're going to get into your account according to what you've got in the portfolio manager. Now we continue to scroll down, you'll see our research section and then the announcements. The announcements are the ASX announcements that are released by your company. So you can come here to zero in just on what's important to you. Now over on the research side of things, this little section here shows you our in-house analyst team's stock recommendations on companies that you specifically are holding. Now, to unlock this feature, you do need to be a professional member. But if you're holding a stock and our team has a recommendation on it, you'll be able to find it here. So the current holdings section here gives you a broad overview of what you've added to your portfolio. So let's click into shares. Now, if I wanted to add more shares to my portfolio, I'd come into this section here and I'd scroll on down and I'd click on Record a Purchase. This will give me the opportunity to upload 5 different parcels at the one time, so a lot quicker than just adding one at a time. Now, let's go ahead and add some Telstra into our portfolio. Now, as you'll see on this page, it gives you a lot more detail about your specific investment. So you can see here with my BHP, I've got multiple parcels and it gives me an average price. Then along the columns there, it gives me the total profit and loss, including what I've made in dividends as well. Now, once again, if our analyst team does have a live current recommendation on a stock that you're holding and you're a professional member of our service, you'll be able to see their recommendation right here in your portfolio manager. Now, if you wanted to edit any particular transaction that you've made, you just need to click on this little pencil. So with this little pencil button here, it brings me into a section where it shows me every single parcel of stock I've bought, and then it allows me to click into those and alter the unit price or the date that I purchased them on, or delete the whole transaction altogether. Now, if you're holding a stock that you want to reallocate the asset class of, we've introduced a feature to allow you to do that. So let's click on the cog here next to MFF. I'm going to click on Asset Class Mappings, and I'm going to be taken through to a page here where I can add a stock to my asset class mappings. Now, taking a step back, what this actually means is, for example, just because a stock is listed on the ASX doesn't mean it's an Australian security. It could have an underlying exposure of international securities, or it could have an underlying exposure of property, and you want to reallocate that asset class so when it comes up in your health check, it's calculating your health check properly. So to do so, you just click the exchange, select the stock code, and then select the right asset class. Once you've added a stock to the asset class mappings, you can then actually go in and break it down across multiple asset classes. So for example, you could have a stock that you're going to consider 60% Australian equities, 20% property, and 20% international equities. You can do that. Now that I've entered all of my holdings and I've remapped anything that I may require to remap, I'm going to go and do my risk profile. So when you come into the risk profile setting, what you really should be thinking about are, what are my investment goals? So for this particular portfolio, say it's my superannuation, what is my goal and what is my time frame to achieve that goal? Because I'm in my 30s and I'm not going to be touching my super, touch wood, for another 30 odd years, my investment goal is going to be high growth. Now, it doesn't mean that just because I'm in my 30s, all of my portfolios are going to be set to high growth, because I might have different investment goals. And for a different investment goal, I'm going to have a different portfolio. And in the portfolio manager system that we have, there is no limit to the amount of portfolios you can set up. So I have a specific goal for my super fund, but then I have a very specific goal and risk profile for my shorter term savings. So say I'm saving for a house, my risk profile for that might be balanced or even conservative, depending on how close I am to realizing that particular goal. Now, we understand not everyone's goal is the same and not everyone's risk profile is the same, and that's why we've introduced the custom setting. Here you can set your ideal portfolio breakdown and save that, so you've got your own unique risk profile that you're going to score your portfolio against in the health check. Speaking of health check, let's get in there and do a health check on my portfolio. Now, as you can see, compared to my risk profile, I'm really overweight Australian equities in this particular portfolio, and I've done this for a reason. That reason being is most people who come to us using the portfolio manager tend to be really overweight Australian equities, so I think this is a pretty apt example. Now, as you can see here, this is showing me that I'm excessively overweight Australian equities. I've got very little international equities compared to what I really should have. I've got very little fixed interest as well. So right now I'm getting a very low health check score. What is an ideal health check score? Well, we think anywhere between 80 and 75% is fine. Anything below that, you'll probably need to look to rebalance your portfolio. Should you be at 100%? Well, it's really difficult to achieve because everything is constantly moving. Now, if you do try and stay at 100% all the time, all you're going to be doing is transacting a lot, and you're going to be putting a lot of cash in the broker's pockets and not yours. We don't recommend you do that. We recommend you keep an eye on your health check and look to rebalance it once it slips below 80 or 75%. How accurate is the health check? Well, you can determine that by looking into the asset class breakdown. This actually goes in and breaks down all your individual holdings and allocates them to a specific asset class, or allocates a portion of them to a specific asset class. If, say, for example, you've got a diversified managed fund and it's got cash and fixed interest in international equities and Australian equities in it, the portfolio manager will actually look into that fund and it'll actually break down the exact exposure to each asset class your portfolio has. Now, going back to the health check, once again you can see I'm excessively overweight Australian equities. So what can I do about it? Well, firstly, I can go and see what our analyst team has sell decisions or avoid decisions on within my portfolio, and then I can act accordingly. Alternatively, I could perhaps look at my portfolio as a whole and just trim evenly across all of my holdings. Now, what am I going to do to increase my health check score? Well, the biggest area of opportunity for me is to increase my international exposure. Now, through InvestSMART, there's a few ways that you can do that with our model portfolios, our investment options, and our tools. So going up to the Research and Advice tab here, the first thing we're going to take a quick look at is the model portfolios. So if you're a hands-on person and you want to go out there and get that exposure yourself, but you want a bit of a backstop by using our research, you can go over to the model portfolios section here under the share recommendations. So here we are in the model portfolios section, and remember I'm underweight international equities, so I'm going to scroll down to the InvestSMART international equities portfolio, and here I'll see the exact exchange traded funds that the analyst team have recommended for this particular portfolio and at the exact weight as well. So what I'm going to do is look at those, compare it to my portfolio and what exposure I need to plug that gap of international equities, and then I'm going to go to my broker and I'm going to replicate that. Now, if that all sounds like a bit too much hard work, what you can do is click on Invest with Us. Now, through the Invest With Us section here, I'm going to scroll on down to the International Equities tab, and I'm going to be able to invest directly without filling out any paperwork in that exact same international equities model, knowing full well that the InvestSMART analyst team are there, managing this portfolio on my behalf for me, and I can see all of my holdings and all of my gains and all of my losses. Now, if you want to be even more hands-on and handpick the exact exposure you want, you can use the InvestSMART Exchange Traded Funds tool, the Managed Funds tool, or the Listed Investment Companies tool to go out there and plug that gap that you have in international equities. You can find this under the Research and Advice tab under Research Tools. So using the Exchange Traded Funds section as an example, you can see here that I can select my geographical focus, I can select my asset allocation, and then I can select a star rating. So InvestSMART has built in a star rating system that helps you separate the ETFs that are worthy of your time and those that aren't. The star rating system takes into consideration the management expense ratio of the ETFs, the tracking error of them, and also the buy-sell spread. And that's it. I've now improved my Portfolio Manager Health Check score, I've plugged the gap in international equities, and I've built a more diversified and more solid and stable portfolio. I'm not so exposed just to the Australian economy. Now, there's a whole lot more that you can do with the InvestSMART Portfolio Manager, but I'm going to leave you here at the dashboard. If you have any more questions, one of the best ways to get in touch with us is via the chat box in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen.